Staff Sergeant Michael Rodriguez never imagined that his life would change forever on a dusty morning in Afghanistan. The 28-year-old Marine from Texas had already completed 2 tours of duty, but this third deployment felt different. As he walked through the military base in Kandahar, his boots crunching on the gravel, he noticed a commotion near the kennels where the military working dogs were housed. A group of soldiers had gathered around a makeshift pen, their voices raised in animated discussion. Michael approached slowly, his curiosity getting the better of him. What he saw made his heart skip a beat. Inside the pen was a German shepherd, but this wasn't just any military dog. The animal was severely injured, his left hind leg wrapped in bloodied bandages, his once proud posture now reduced to a painful limp. The dog's name was Rex, and he had been found abandoned near a destroyed village 3 days earlier. Intelligence suggested that Rex had belonged to a German military unit that had been stationed in the area months before. When their mission ended, Rex had somehow been left behind. The local veterinarian had done what he could, but the prognosis wasn't good. The dog had suffered multiple injuries from what appeared to be an explosion, and his chances of full recovery were slim. Michael watched as Rex struggled to stand, his dark eyes filled with a mixture of pain and determination that reminded the Marine of his own struggles. There was something about this dog that spoke to Michael's soul. Perhaps it was the way Rex refused to give up despite his obvious suffering, or maybe it was the lonely look in his eyes that mirrored Michael's own feelings of isolation so far from home. The base commander, Colonel Thompson, was discussing Rex's fate with the veterinary team. The conversation was clinical and matter-of-fact, but Michael could hear the underlying concern in their voices. Military resources were stretched thin, and caring for a severely injured dog that wasn't part of their unit wasn't exactly a priority. The unspoken reality hung in the air like desert dust. Rex's future was uncertain at best. That evening, Michael couldn't stop thinking about the German shepherd. He had always been drawn to dogs, having grown up with several on his family's ranch in Texas. His childhood companion, a border collie named Blue, had been his constant companion until cancer took him just before Michael's first deployment. The loss had hit him harder than he cared to admit, and he had sworn off getting close to another animal. But something about Rex was different. Over the next few days, Michael found himself visiting the kennels during his off-duty hours. He would sit quietly outside Rex's pen, sometimes reading letters from home, sometimes just talking softly to the injured dog. Rex seemed to respond to Michael's presence, his ears perking up whenever he heard the Marine's familiar footsteps approaching. The veterinary team had managed to stabilize Rex's condition, but his injuries were extensive. In addition to the damaged leg, he had suffered internal injuries and hearing loss in his left ear. The medical bills were mounting, and there was growing pressure to make a difficult decision about Rex's future. Military protocol was clear about the allocation of resources, and sentiment rarely factored into such decisions. Michael learned more about Rex's background from the intelligence reports. The German shepherd had been part of an explosive detection unit, trained to sniff out hidden bombs and save countless lives. He had served with distinction for 3 years, earning commendations for his service. The irony wasn't lost on Michael. A dog who had spent his career protecting soldiers had been abandoned by the very system he had served so faithfully. As Rex's condition slowly improved under the care of the military veterinarians, his personality began to emerge. Despite his injuries and the trauma he had endured, Rex displayed a gentle nature and an almost human-like intelligence. He seemed to understand that Michael was different from the other soldiers who occasionally visited. When Michael approached, Rex would struggle to his feet, his tail wagging weakly but persistently. The bond between man and dog was forming naturally, but Michael fought against it. He knew the realities of military life, the temporary nature of deployments, and the impossibility of keeping a pet in his current situation. Yet every day he found himself drawn back to Rex's side, unable to resist the pull of their growing connection. Word of Michael's daily visits spread throughout the base, and soon other soldiers began to take notice. Some thought it was foolish to get attached to an animal that would likely need to be put down. Others understood the comfort that Rex provided in the harsh environment of war. The debate about Rex's future continued, but Michael remained focused on the present, spending every free moment he could with his new companion. The turning point came during a particularly difficult week when Michael's unit lost 2 soldiers in an IED explosion. The grief and stress of combat were taking their toll on everyone, but Michael found solace in Rex's quiet presence. The dog seemed to sense when Michael was hurting, offering comfort in ways that words never could. It was during these darkest moments that Michael realized Rex wasn't just healing physically, he was healing emotionally too, finding purpose again through their friendship. As weeks passed, Rex's physical recovery progressed better than anyone had expected. His determination to heal seemed directly linked to his bond with Michael. The veterinary team was amazed by his progress, attributing much of his improvement to the constant attention and care he received from the dedicated Marine. But even as Rex grew stronger, the question of his long-term future remained unanswered, hanging over their friendship like a storm cloud on the horizon. The first sign that something was seriously wrong came on a Tuesday morning when Michael didn't show up for his regular visit with Rex. The German shepherd waited by the fence of his pen, his ears perked and alert, listening for the familiar sound of combat boots on gravel that never came. The base veterinarian, Dr. Sarah Chen, noticed Rex's agitation and went to investigate. She found Michael in the medical bay, hunched over on an examination table while the base doctor checked his vital signs. His face was pale and there were dark circles under his eyes that hadn't been there the day before. When Dr. Chen approached, Michael tried to smile, but the effort seemed to drain what little energy he had left. The diagnosis came 2 days later after a series of tests and consultations with specialists via video conference. Stage 4 pancreatic cancer. The words hit Michael like a physical blow, leaving him stunned and struggling to process the reality of his situation. At 28 years old, he had survived 3 combat deployments only to be ambushed by an enemy he never saw coming. Dr. Martinez, the base's chief medical officer, explained the situation with clinical precision tempered by genuine compassion. The cancer was aggressive and had already spread to multiple organs. With immediate treatment back in the United States, Michael might have 6 to 12 months. Without treatment, the timeline was much shorter. Either way, his military career was over, and his deployment would be ending much sooner than anyone had planned. The news spread quickly through the close-knit military community. Michael's fellow Marines rallied around him, offering support and trying to maintain a sense of normalcy, but everyone knew that everything had changed. The upcoming medevac flight to Germany and then back to the States was already being arranged, and Michael would be leaving within the week. But as the reality of his situation sank in, Michael's thoughts kept returning to Rex. The German shepherd had become more than just a companion. He had become Michael's anchor in the chaos of war, a source of comfort and purpose that had given meaning to his final months of service. The idea of leaving Rex behind felt like abandoning a family member. Michael spent hours sitting with Rex in the kennel, trying to explain in whispered words what was happening. The dog seemed to sense the change in his friend's demeanor, becoming more attentive and protective. Rex would position himself as close to Michael as possible, his warm body providing comfort that no human could offer. During these quiet moments, Michael made a decision that would surprise everyone, including himself. He requested a meeting with Colonel Thompson to discuss Rex's future. The conversation was difficult, with Michael struggling to find the right words to explain the depth of his connection to the injured dog. He talked about Rex's service record, his potential for rehabilitation, and his unique bond with the animal. What he didn't mention, at least not directly, was his own desperate need to have something meaningful to focus on during his remaining time. Colonel Thompson listened patiently, understanding more than he let on. He had seen soldiers form bonds with military working dogs before, but rarely had he witnessed such a profound connection between a human and an animal. The practical challenges were significant: international transport regulations, medical clearances, and the substantial costs involved in relocating a dog with special medical needs. The breakthrough came from an unexpected source. Dr. Chen had been researching military animal adoption programs and discovered that there were precedents for wounded veterans adopting military working dogs, especially in cases where the animals were no longer fit for active duty. Rex's injuries and hearing loss would likely disqualify him from further military service. making him eligible for adoption rather than euthanasia. The paperwork was complex and time-consuming, involving multiple government agencies and veterinary clearances. Michael's medical condition added another layer of complexity, as officials needed to ensure that he would be capable of caring for a dog with special needs. Character references from his commanding officers and fellow Marines helped establish his dedication and capability as a potential caretaker. During this bureaucratic process, Michael's condition began to decline more rapidly than doctors had initially predicted. The physical symptoms were becoming harder to hide, and he was spending more time in the medical bay receiving treatment to manage his pain and nausea. Yet whenever possible, he continued his visits with Rex, drawing strength from their time together. Rex seemed to understand that something fundamental was changing. The dog became increasingly protective of Michael, growling softly when strangers approached and positioning himself between Michael and potential threats. This protective behavior was noted by the veterinary staff and, added to the growing documentation supporting Michael's adoption request, the other Marines on the base began to take a special interest in Rex's situation. Many of them contributed money toward the adoption fees and transportation costs, understanding that helping Rex was a way of supporting their fellow Marine during an impossible time. Collections were taken up during mess hall meals, and soon there was enough money to cover all the expenses involved in getting Rex to the United States. As Michael's departure date approached, the adoption paperwork was still making its way through various approval processes. The uncertainty was agonizing for Michael, who found himself caught between hope and despair. Some days he felt confident that everything would work out, while other days the bureaucratic obstacles seemed insurmountable. The medical team was monitoring Michael's condition closely, adjusting his treatment to ensure he would be stable enough for the long journey home. The flight would include stops in Germany and possibly other locations, making it a challenging trip even for a healthy person. Adding a dog with special medical needs to the equation complicated everything, but Michael remained determined to find a way to bring Rex home with him. During his final week at the base, Michael received news that would change everything. The adoption paperwork had been approved and arrangements were being made for Rex to travel with him on the medical transport flight. The news brought tears to his eyes and a smile that had been absent for weeks. For the first time since his diagnosis, Michael felt like he had something to look forward to, a reason to fight for every day he had left. Spring brought new challenges and unexpected developments to Michael and Rex's journey together. Michael's latest scans showed that while the cancer had not been eliminated, its progression had slowed significantly. His medical team attributed this stabilization to a combination of treatment, his positive mental state, and what they termed the Rex factor, the measurable benefits of having a devoted companion who provided both emotional support and practical assistance. Rex had become more than just a pet. He had evolved into a skilled service animal without formal training. He could sense when Michael's blood sugar was dropping, alert him to take medications, and even detect the early signs of the nausea that preceded his worst days. The bond between them had deepened to an almost telepathic level of communication, with each able to anticipate the other's needs. The documentary project was nearing completion, and early screenings had generated significant interest from major television networks and streaming services. James Patterson had captured something special in his footage, not just the story of a man and his dog, but a profound exploration of loyalty, healing, and the unbreakable bonds formed in the crucible of military service. Michael began receiving invitations to speak at universities, medical conferences, and veteran organizations across the country. The speaking engagements provided him with a sense of purpose that extended beyond his own situation. He found meaning in sharing their story and advocating for better support systems for wounded veterans, both human and canine. During one particularly memorable visit to a children's hospital, Rex demonstrated his natural therapy instincts by gently interacting with young patients undergoing cancer treatment. The children were fascinated by Rex's story and drew strength from meeting someone who, like them, was fighting to overcome serious health challenges. The hospital staff were so impressed that they invited Michael and Rex to become regular visitors. The success of these public appearances led to an unexpected opportunity. The Department of Veterans Affairs approached Michael about consulting on a new program designed to pair wounded veterans with military working dogs who were retiring from active service. His first-hand experience with the benefits of such partnerships made him an ideal advocate for expanding these programs. Working with the VA gave Michael a renewed sense of purpose and connection to his military identity. He could use his remaining time to help create lasting changes that would benefit other veterans long after he was gone. Rex seemed to understand the importance of this work, accompanying Michael to meetings and serving as a living example of the program's potential benefits. As summer arrived, Michael's health took a concerning turn. The cancer had begun to spread more aggressively, and his doctors recommended hospitalizing him for more intensive treatment. The prospect of being separated from Rex during this critical time was devastating, but the hospital's pet therapy program had been expanded to allow Rex to stay with Michael during his admission. The hospital room became their temporary home, with Rex sleeping on a special bed beside Michael's medical bed. The nursing staff quickly grew fond of Rex, who seemed to provide comfort not just to Michael but to other patients and even healthcare workers dealing with the stress of their jobs. Rex's presence in the oncology ward created an atmosphere of calm and hope that surprised everyone. During this hospitalization, Michael's story reached national attention when the documentary premiered on a major television network. The response was overwhelming, with thousands of viewers reaching out to share their own stories of animal companionship during difficult times. The documentary sparked conversations about the therapeutic value of animals in healthcare settings and led to policy discussions about expanding access to service animals for veterans. Michael watched the documentary from his hospital bed with Rex curled up beside him. Seeing their journey captured on film was emotional and surreal, but it also reinforced his sense that their experience had a purpose beyond their personal relationship. The film had already inspired several other veterans to adopt military working dogs, creating new partnerships that would provide mutual healing and support. The publicity from the documentary also brought unexpected financial support. Donations poured in from viewers who wanted to help with Michael's medical expenses and ensure that Rex would be cared for regardless of what happened. A trust fund was established to cover Rex's ongoing veterinary needs and to support the VA's expanded animal therapy programs. As autumn approached, Michael's medical team made the difficult decision to transition him to hospice care. The focus shifted from aggressive treatment to comfort and quality of life. Michael was determined to spend his remaining time at home with Rex, surrounded by family and friends who had become part of their extended support network. The transition to hospice care was emotional, but also brought a sense of peace. Michael's family ranch in Texas provided the perfect setting for his final chapter, with wide open spaces where Rex could run and explore. The familiar sights and sounds of home seemed to energize both Michael and Rex, giving them precious moments of joy amid the sadness of their situation. Rex's behavior during this period was remarkable. He seemed to understand that Michael was dying and adjusted his own routine to provide maximum comfort and companionship. He would lie quietly beside Michael during difficult days and encourage gentle activities when Michael felt stronger. The depth of Rex's loyalty and intuitive care amazed everyone who witnessed it. Local veterans groups organized regular visits to the ranch, creating an informal support network that honored Michael's service while providing practical assistance to his family. These gatherings often centered around Rex, who had become a symbol of hope and resilience for the entire veteran community in the area. Michael used his remaining energy to complete a memoir about his experience with Rex, working with a ghostwriter to ensure their story would be preserved in his own words. The book project gave him a sense of purpose and urgency, knowing that he was creating something that could continue to help others long after he was gone. As winter returned, Michael's condition continued to decline, but his spirits remained surprisingly strong. He had accomplished more in his final year than he had ever imagined possible, creating a legacy that extended far beyond his own life. Rex remained his constant companion, providing comfort and companionship that no human could replace. The medical transport flight from Afghanistan to Germany was the longest journey of Michael's life, and not just because of the physical distance. Strapped to a stretcher in the military aircraft with Rex secured in a special carrier beside him, Michael felt the weight of leaving his military career behind forever. The steady hum of the engines and the gentle vibration of the plane seemed to echo the uncertainty that lay ahead. Rex had been sedated for the flight, but even in his medicated state, The dog remained alert to Michael's presence. Every few hours, when the medical staff allowed it, Michael would reach over to stroke Rex's fur, whispering reassurances that seemed to calm both of them. The flight crew, initially skeptical about transporting a wounded dog alongside critically ill patients, quickly warmed to Rex's gentle nature and obvious bond with the Marine. During a refueling stop in Germany, Michael was transferred to a medical facility for evaluation and treatment adjustment. The German doctors were impressed by his determination and positive attitude, noting in their reports that his emotional connection to Rex seemed to be providing significant psychological benefits. This observation would prove crucial in the weeks to come. The second leg of the journey took them to Walter Reed Medical Center in Maryland, where Michael would begin intensive treatment. Rex was transported to a specialized veterinary facility nearby, where he would receive his own medical evaluation and begin the process of adapting to life in America. The separation, even temporary, was difficult for both of them. Michael's treatment at Walter Reed was aggressive and exhausting. Chemotherapy sessions left him weak and nauseous, and the side effects seemed to compound daily. The oncology team was cautiously optimistic about slowing the progression of his cancer, but they were clear about the challenges ahead. The next few months would be critical in determining how much time Michael had left. During his second week at Walter Reed, Michael received permission for Rex to visit him in the hospital. The reunion was emotional, with Rex immediately sensing Michael's weakened condition and adjusting his behavior accordingly. Instead of his usual enthusiastic greeting, Rex approached slowly and gently placed his head on Michael's chest, as if offering comfort through physical contact. The hospital staff were amazed by Rex's intuitive understanding of Michael's needs. The dog seemed to know when Michael was having a particularly difficult day, staying close and providing silent companionship. On better days, Rex would encourage gentle activity, bringing toys or simply walking slowly beside Michael's wheelchair during outdoor visits. Dr. Elizabeth Harper, Michael's oncologist, began to document the positive effects of Rex's presence on her patient's recovery. Michael's pain levels seemed more manageable when Rex was nearby, and his mood remained surprisingly positive despite the grim prognosis. The medical team began incorporating Rex's visits into Michael's official treatment plan, recognizing the therapeutic value of their bond. Meanwhile, Rex was receiving his own specialized care. The veterinary team worked to address his remaining injuries and help him adapt to his partial hearing loss. They were impressed by his resilience and intelligence, noting that he had developed his own methods of communication that relied more on visual cues and touch than on sound. As Michael's condition stabilized somewhat, the medical team began discussing discharge plans. Michael's family in Texas was preparing their ranch to accommodate both Michael and Rex, making modifications to ensure accessibility and comfort. His parents, initially overwhelmed by their son's diagnosis, found hope in the special relationship he shared with Rex. The transition to outpatient care was challenging. Michael moved into a temporary apartment near the hospital, with Rex as his constant companion. The dog had been trained to recognize signs of Michael's distress and to fetch medications or alert caregivers when necessary. This training proved invaluable as Michael navigated the complex schedule of treatments and medications. Rex's presence also helped Michael maintain connections with the outside world. During walks around the neighborhood, people were drawn to the distinctive German Shepherd with his slight limp and gentle demeanor. These interactions led to conversations about military service and the bond between soldiers and their canine companions, giving Michael opportunities to share his story and find meaning in his experience. Local media outlets learned about Michael and Rex's story, and soon they were receiving interview requests and invitations to speak at veteran events. Michael was initially reluctant to share his story publicly, but he recognized that their experience could help other veterans understand the therapeutic value of animal companionship. The first public appearance was at a local veterans hospital, where Michael and Rex visited with other wounded warriors. The response was overwhelming, with many veterans sharing their own stories of animal companions who had helped them through difficult times. Rex seemed to understand his role in these visits, approaching each veteran with gentle confidence and offering comfort to those who needed it most. As winter approached, Michael's medical team began discussing more aggressive treatment options. The initial chemotherapy had slowed the cancer's progression but hadn't stopped it entirely. The decision about whether to pursue experimental treatments was complicated by Michael's desire to spend quality time with Rex rather than enduring procedures that might extend his life by only a few weeks or months. During this difficult decision-making process, Michael received unexpected news that would change both their lives. A documentary filmmaker who had heard their story wanted to create a film about the bond between military personnel and working dogs. The project would involve following Michael and Rex over several months, capturing their daily life and the unique relationship they shared. Michael was intrigued by the idea of leaving a lasting record of their friendship, something that could help other veterans and educate the public about the important role that animals play in military service and recovery. After long discussions with his medical team and family, he agreed to participate in the documentary project. The filmmaker, James Patterson, was a veteran himself who understood the sensitivity required for such a project. He approached the documentation with respect and patience, allowing Michael and Rex to be themselves rather than forcing artificial situations for dramatic effect. The resulting footage captured intimate moments of their daily life, from quiet mornings at home to challenging medical appointments. As the documentary project progressed, Michael's story began to reach a wider audience. Veterans organizations, animal welfare groups, and medical professionals expressed interest in their experience, recognizing the broader implications for understanding the therapeutic relationship between humans and animals in healing environments. The final weeks of Michael's life unfolded with a bittersweet mixture of profound sadness and unexpected grace. As December snow began to dust the Texas ranch, Michael spent most of his time in the specially modified living room, where he could watch Rex play in the yard through large picture windows. The German Shepherd had adapted his routine completely to match Michael's needs, never straying far from the house and always returning to check on his companion. Rex's devotion during these final days was extraordinary. He seemed to sense when Michael was having particularly difficult moments, positioning himself within arm's reach and offering silent comfort through his presence. The dog had developed an uncanny ability to predict Michael's needs, alerting family members when medications were needed or when Michael was experiencing distress. Michael's memoir was completed just before Christmas, with the final chapters dictated from his hospital bed at home. The book chronicled not just his relationship with Rex, but the broader story of military service, the bonds formed in combat, and the healing power of unconditional love. Publishers were already expressing strong interest in the manuscript, recognizing its potential to reach audiences far beyond the military community. The holiday season brought an unexpected gift when the Department of Veterans Affairs announced that Michael's advocacy work had contributed to the approval of a new national program pairing, retiring military working dogs with wounded veterans. The Rodriguez Rex initiative would provide funding, training, and support for these partnerships, ensuring that other veterans could experience the healing benefits that Michael and Rex had discovered together. Michael was deeply moved by this honor, understanding that their personal journey had created something lasting and meaningful. The program would help hundreds of veterans and dogs find new purpose together, creating bonds that could heal both human and canine participants. Rex seemed to understand the significance of the moment, staying especially close to Michael during the announcement ceremony that was held at the ranch. Local and national media covered the program announcement, bringing renewed attention to Michael and Rex's story. The ranch became a gathering place for veterans, dog lovers, and supporters who wanted to pay their respects and learn more about the remarkable partnership that had inspired such positive change. Michael welcomed these visitors despite his declining health, finding energy in their shared stories and mutual support. As January arrived, Michael's medical team made the difficult assessment that he likely had only days or weeks remaining. The hospice nurses increased their visits, and family members took turns staying at the ranch to provide round-the-clock support. Rex remained the constant in this changing environment, adapting to each new caregiver while maintaining his primary focus on Michael's comfort and well-being. During these final days, Michael experienced moments of surprising clarity and peace. He spent hours talking to Rex, sharing memories of their time together and expressing gratitude for the unexpected friendship that had given meaning to his final year. Family members often found them together in quiet companionship, with Rex resting his head on Michael's chest or sleeping curled up beside the hospital bed. The end came on a quiet Tuesday morning in late January. Michael's family had gathered around his bedside, along with the hospice chaplain and his primary care nurse. Rex was lying beside the bed, his head resting on Michael's arm, when Michael peacefully passed away in his sleep. The dog seemed to understand immediately what had happened, remaining motionless beside his friend for several minutes before finally lifting his head with a soft whimper. The funeral arrangements reflected Michael's wishes for a simple ceremony that honored both his military service and his bond with Rex. The service was held at the ranch, with hundreds of attendees including fellow Marines, veterans, medical staff, and community members whose lives had been touched by Michael and Rex's story. Rex participated in the ceremony, walking slowly beside the honor guard as they carried Michael's flag-draped casket. In the days following the funeral, the question of Rex's future became a primary concern for Michael's family. At 7 years old and with his own health challenges, Rex needed specialized care and attention. The trust fund established during Michael's illness provided financial resources, but finding the right caregiver required careful consideration of Rex's unique needs and the profound grief he was experiencing. The answer came from an unexpected source. Dr. Sarah Chen, the military veterinarian who had first cared for Rex in Afghanistan, had completed her own military service and was establishing a private practice specializing in therapy animals. She had followed Michael and Rex's story from the beginning and offered to adopt Rex, understanding better than anyone the dog's background and special requirements. The transition was carefully managed, with Rex spending several days at Dr. Chen's facility before moving permanently to her home. The veterinarian had experience with grieving animals and recognized that Rex would need time and patience to process the loss of his beloved companion. She also understood the importance of maintaining Rex's role as a therapy animal, believing that helping others would provide him with renewed purpose. Rex's grief was profound and visible. For weeks after Michael's death, he would search the ranch and Dr. Chen's property looking for his missing friend. He lost weight and showed little interest in activities that had previously brought him joy. Dr. Chen worked patiently with him, using her expertise in animal behavior to help Rex navigate his mourning process. The breakthrough came when Dr. Chen arranged for Rex to visit the children's hospital, where he and Michael had volunteered together. The familiar environment and the children's enthusiastic response seemed to rekindle something in Rex's spirit. He began to engage with the young patients, offering the same gentle comfort he had provided to Michael during his final months. This successful visit led to the establishment of Rex's new role as a full-time therapy animal. Working with Dr. Chen, he began regular visits to hospitals, veteran centers, and rehabilitation facilities throughout the region. His story and his gentle nature made him particularly effective in helping others who were facing their own health challenges or grieving the loss of loved ones. The memoir was published 6 months after Michael's death, with proceeds benefiting the Rodriguez Rex Initiative and animal therapy programs across the country. The book became a bestseller, reaching audiences who found inspiration in the story of loyalty, sacrifice, and the healing power of love between species. Rex attended several book launch events, serving as a living reminder of the bond that had inspired such positive change. 3 years after Michael's death, Rex had transformed from a grieving companion into one of the most celebrated therapy animals in the country. His work with Dr. Sarah Chen had touched hundreds of lives, and his gentle presence continued to provide comfort to those facing their darkest moments. The German Shepherd, now 10 years old, moved with the slight limp that had marked him since his injury in Afghanistan. But his spirit remained strong, and his dedication to helping others unwavering. The Rodriguez Rex Initiative had exceeded all expectations, successfully pairing over 200 retiring military working dogs with wounded veterans across the United States. Each partnership was carefully managed, with extensive training and ongoing support provided to ensure successful relationships. The program had become a model for similar initiatives in other countries, spreading the healing benefits of human-animal bonds far beyond American borders. Rex's therapy work had evolved to include a remarkable specialization in helping children and adults who were facing terminal illnesses. His experience with Michael's final months had given him an intuitive understanding of the dying process and the comfort that could be provided through quiet companionship. Hospitals specifically requested Rex for their most challenging cases, knowing that his presence could provide peace during the most difficult transitions. Dr. Chin often marveled at Rex's ability to sense when someone was approaching the end of their life. The dog would adjust his behavior accordingly, becoming gentler and more patient, offering the same type of companionship he had provided to Michael. Families who experienced Rex's care during these moments often spoke of the profound comfort he brought to their darkest hours. The annual memorial service for Michael had become a significant event in the veteran community, drawing hundreds of participants to the Texas ranch that remained in his family's care. Rex always played a central role in the ceremony, walking slowly to Michael's gravesite and lying quietly beside the headstone for several minutes. These moments never failed to move observers, serving as a powerful reminder of the enduring bonds between soldiers and their animal companions. During the third memorial service, an unexpected visitor appeared among the gathered veterans and supporters. A young German soldier named Klaus Miller had traveled from Germany specifically to meet Rex and learn more about Michael's story. He explained that Rex had originally been his partner in the German military unit that had served in Afghanistan, and he had never stopped wondering what had happened to his former companion. The reunion between Klaus and Rex was emotional and complex. The dog clearly remembered his former handler, responding to German commands and showing signs of recognition. However, his bond with Michael and his current life with Dr. Chen had created new loyalties and attachments. Klaus understood this evolution and expressed gratitude that Rex had found such meaningful purpose after their separation. Klaus shared stories of Rex's early military service, describing the young dog's courage and intelligence during their missions together. He had been devastated when military protocols forced him to leave Rex behind, and he had spent years trying to track down information about his former partner's fate. Learning about Rex's journey with Michael and his current role as a therapy animal brought him a sense of closure and peace. The meeting led to an unexpected development when Klaus decided to extend his visit to the United States and volunteer with the Rodriguez Rex Initiative. His experience as a military dog handler and his linguistic skills made him valuable in training other veterans and expanding the program's international connections. Rex seemed to approve of this arrangement, accepting Klaus as part of his extended pack while maintaining his primary bond with Dr. Chen. Rex's story continued to inspire new developments in animal therapy and veteran support programs. Research scientists studied his behavior and the documented benefits he provided to patients, contributing to a growing body of scientific literature about the therapeutic value of animal companionship. Medical schools began incorporating lessons about human-animal bonds into their curricula, using Rex and Michael's story as a case study. As Rex entered his 11th year, subtle signs of aging began to appear. His hearing loss had progressed and he moved more slowly during therapy visits. Dr. Chen adjusted his schedule to ensure he wasn't overworked, but Rex seemed determined to continue his healing work for as long as possible. His dedication to helping others had become his life's mission, just as his bond with Michael had defined his middle years. The impact of Rex's therapy work extended beyond individual patients to include the healthcare workers who witnessed his interventions. Nurses, doctors, and counselors often spoke of how Rex's presence helped them cope with the emotional demands of their jobs. His calm demeanor and intuitive responses to human suffering provided a model for compassionate care that influenced how medical professionals approached their work. Educational institutions began incorporating Rex's story into programs for veterinary students, social workers, and healthcare professionals. His life demonstrated the potential for animals to serve as partners in healing, rather than simply as pets or working animals. The lessons learned from his relationship with Michael and his subsequent therapy work were reshaping how society understood the bonds between humans and animals. Rex's legacy was further cemented when a new wing of the Children's Hospital where he volunteered was dedicated in his and Michael's honor. The Rodriguez Rex Healing Center featured specially designed spaces for animal therapy, with comfortable environments where patients could interact with therapy animals in privacy and comfort. Rex was present for the dedication ceremony, receiving recognition for his years of service and the countless lives he had touched. As Rex's story neared its own final chapter, preparations were being made to ensure that his legacy would continue. A foundation was established to support therapy animal programs, veteran services, and research into human-animal bonds. The foundation would carry forward the mission that had emerged from a chance meeting between a dying Marine and an injured dog in a military kennel, halfway around the world. Rex's impact had grown far beyond what anyone could have imagined during those first uncertain days in Afghanistan. His journey from wounded war dog to celebrated therapy animal demonstrated the resilience of both humans and animals, the power of love to transform tragedy into purpose, and the enduring bonds that transcend even death. Through his continued service, Michael's final desire to be with his German Shepherd had evolved into something neither of them could have anticipated, a legacy of healing that would touch lives for generations to come.